I'm Johnny Smith.
I'm Richard Porter.
And this is Smith & Sniff, a podcast in which two friends talk about cars and many other things. Brian update. You know, well-known Queen guitarist with come-up buns and hair, Brian May?
Yes.
A couple of weeks ago, I don't know if you know, but he had a stroke.
I saw this.
And I was thinking, oh no, because that's pretty serious for somebody that uses their hands for their living, like playing the guitar.
Yeah.
He's 77, didn't know that. Older than I realised. And anyway, read a bit of bump, but I can say that he's okay. The little quote that says, "So, the good news is I'm okay. I'm just doing what I'm told, which is basically nothing." He said he'd been grounded, adding, "I'm not allowed to go out. Well, I'm not allowed to drive. I'm not allowed to get on a plane, and I'm not allowed to raise the heart rate too high." What he didn't say in that BBC interview was, "I can't drive, and to be honest with you, I'm getting a bit worried because the London to Brighton could be sacked off because it's only in November."
But isn't your whole concept of the London to Brighton, which you mentioned a long time ago,
on
video or on the podcast, I can't remember,
I think it was cast.
The contestants have to go to Brighton. Was that not the point? Yeah,
that is the point. There's like a wheel of fortune with different Brian's names, or a hat, probably a Victorian hat, folded up names,
stalker,
huge
with
deep hat,
scrolls in it. Yeah,
and you pick out which Brian ultimately the event drives to.
Okay,
but I think if you've been a previous Brian, maybe you'll get on board and you'll take part, perhaps. I'm making these rules up as I go along, as you might well have noticed.
I had simply no sense of that at all.
Oh, well, I'm really glad that it wasn't noticeable.
But this is low stress for Brian May because he can just sit at home and wait for the rally to come to him. Rally? Would you call it a rally? The event?
I think I would call it a rally. Or an excursion, which is a word which isn't used much for a journey now.
It's not, is it?
Nobody says they're going on an excursion. There's an American car called an excursion, isn't there? Or there was. Was it a Ford?
Well, there was the Explorer and the Expedition. I don't know if there was an excursion. It feels like there should have been.
Have I just made that up because it sounded like...
Excursion. It sounds plausible. Oh, wait. There was. Yes.
Oh, good. I'm not lying. Oh, that's good.
It was the really big one.
Yeah, it was absolutely massive. I remember we hired one when we were filming for Fifth Gear once, and you could run up the aisle of it in the middle. It was like being on a full bus.
It says on Wikipedia, at its introduction, the Excursion was the longest and heaviest SUV ever to enter mass production.
Brilliant. And that's why it will be a forgettable classic.
It looks like it didn't last very long, 2000 until 2005.
So the London to Brighton, I really hope it will continue. I still maintain that you and I should do it. But after looking at Brian May's illness, I thought to myself, I'll just look at this year's entries into the London to Brighton. It's obviously not affiliated with the London to Brighton. And there's a car that's entered this year called a 1903 Gamage Astor.
Gamage?
Gamage. So it could be Gamage or it could be Gamage. Gamage Astor or Gamage Astor. And lo and behold, it's owned by Mr. Brian Curry.
Okay.
So there's a Brian in the London to Brighton, and he's in a car with a faintly amusing name, I think. Gamage.
Now, this is something because, hey, we're recording this on Friday. This show's going out on the Monday. The London to Brighton is happening this weekend. It's Sunday. As in, like yesterday, by the time this show goes out. So this would explain why the weather's suddenly gone a bit shit. Because
London to Brighton's on in November, isn't it?
It's Sunday the 15th of September. It starts
at
6 a.m. Oh, wait, that's the cycle ride.
Yeah, I'm looking at the cars. I want tiller steer nonsense and single cylinder 6 horsepower. I don't want people with teardrop helmets. Come on.
We've said this before, but it bears repeating. Why the merry frig do they have the London to Brighton card thing in November? Why not have it in July when it would be pleasant? Or if you're worried that your single cylinder thing is going to overheat because it's air cooled, or it's cooled in some weird way we don't have now, like by having wool wrapped around it or something, why not just have it in a balmier month? Even, September would do it. But no, they have it in November, like just gluttons for punishment.
It's 2 days before Guy Fawkes night, and everyone's wearing...
Everyone knows that's like, statistically, that's the dampest that Britain ever gets, isn't it? It's always, there's always a damp in the air on Guy Fawkes night.
Yeah, so maybe it is to keep these vehicles cooled. Because if you did it in the middle of summer, I don't know.
It'd all overheat.
Well, Brian in his Gamage would be wearing, I don't know, 6 goat skins or something. And he would feel terribly faint because he would have overworn clothes. I don't know. That's
why it is. Hang on. It's not the cars overheating. It's the owners overheating because they insist on wearing 6 layers of tweed.
Well, you get a hell of a keen wind chill going on when you've got and I'm just going to quickly look up its spec. The Gamage, hang on, the Gamage.
This is Gamage. Feels like this is
the Gamage Astor.
Beyond old days and onions. This is so obscure.
It's French and it's got 6.5 horsepower and it's got 1 cylinder.
French. So
it's
Gamage.
4-seater. It is Gamage Astor. Ladies, gentlemen, please welcome all the way from beautiful, idyllic southern France. It's Lady Gamage Astor.
I can see what she's wearing. It's a very elegant ivory-coloured ball gown with lots of pearls and possibly ivory. Actual ivory tusks.
Loads of dead creatures around her.
Loads of dead creatures, like just sort of like hamster tongues and shit sewn to it, just for the sheer sport of being cruel in that way that people used to enjoy.
They did, didn't they?
Yeah. What are those? Well, actually, no, these are lark's eyeballs that I've had stitched to this smoking jacket just because I'm an Edwardian and I want to be mean to animals.
There'd be none of that at the London to Brighton. Because A, we're not doing it in those times, and B, Brian May would go, listen.
Oh gosh,
is that a badger skin coat that you're wearing?
Yeah, get out. You're banned.
I'm going to do a citizen's arrest on you, even though I'm not supposed to move very quickly at the moment because I've had a stroke recently.
Well, that's the thing. He's not allowed to be stressed out, and that would really stress him out because he likes badgers. So I thought, just to go back a bit, so when you said that Brian May was quoted as saying that in the aftermath of having his stroke, he's not allowed to drive, I thought you were going to ask what he would drive if he was allowed to.
Oh, well, as in what, a veteran car, or you mean like a normal car?
let's just park or allow the veteran car to overheat for a moment. And just because I know that Brian May in the 70s, presumably when Queen started to sort of make some decent coin, Brian May had an XJ-S.
Nice.
Yeah. Now, in my head, Brian May still has the XJ-S.
Do you still call it in your... Right, okay.
Well, now, but then it's a difficult one, isn't it? For a man who now needs to make sure his heart is not unnecessarily agitated, is an old XJ-S the right car to have, very relaxing, or the wrong car to have, constantly malfunctioning? I can't work it out.
I think because Brian is an intelligent and I would suspect quite a methodical man.
Oh, yes.
So I've got a theory here. He still wants the XJ-S because he just loves the driving experience when things are all working.
Yeah.
So part of his daily ritual is taking it for a service.
Daily?
Daily. So just like you and I have woken up and we've had breakfast and we've had a coffee, Brian May has to, within 24 hours, take his XJ-S for a service. So the service history actually has to be carried around with a telehandler when he moves house.
He has got...
There's pallets of service history.
They closed down the Browns Lane facility. Brian bought 100,000 new old stock service booklets for Jags, and he just keeps them in a warehouse with his old guitars and outfits and stuff. And then when one's full up, he gets someone to dig out the next one, and they can have it stamped up, because he's a stickler for meticulous service history. But do you think?
I bet he is.
Genuine question. Yeah. Do you think it's possible to over-service a car?
Somebody asked me this not that long ago, because I think so many people now, because they don't really understand the way engines work, and it's that ignorance is bliss thing, that cars don't get serviced enough. And I pretty much said to someone, you can't over-change oil. I'm pretty sure you could do an oil change every day and the engine would last so long. That's assuming you obviously primed the oil filter and you put the right amount of oil in and the oil was the right grade, blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
But I actually think it would be fine. And I sort of want to do it for a month a year.
I'm trying to think of things that would be sort of rounded off or worn out, threaded things like your sump plug, perhaps.
Yeah.
But obviously you can replace the plug. It's whether the sump
it's whether you
itself.
did the actual sump. Yeah.
Is it gonna? It's probably negligible.
I think the car would get. Well, the good thing is stuff would all come undone really easily. If you were going to fully service a car every day, you do plugs. If that Jag of Brian's is V12, bloody hell, 12 plugs a day.
He's burning through the Queen millions here, isn't he? With 12 NGKs a day.
Oh, NGK are going to be like, we absolutely love Brian May. NGK are making more money from Brian May than any guitar manufacturer ever.
It's just like when that sometimes repeated fact about how during dark times, Bentley and possibly Aston Martin were basically kept alive by the Sultan of Brunei.
That's
ordering
right.
bespoke cars.
Yeah.
It's the same with this. NGK doesn't matter, they go, oh no, EVs are coming. There's no demand for spark plugs. Don't worry, Brian May has got some deranged obsession with having new plugs in his XJ-S every day.
I would love that. In fact, do you remember that XJ-S which came up for sale recently, which someone had turned into a hatchback?
Yeah.
Which I very nearly, I'm going to say it, pulled the trigger on. That should be Brian May's perfect steed, because you'll be able to get more guitars in the back.
Yeah, amps.
Wouldn't you?
Amps would go in there. That was the one that appeared to have a Citroen Xantia hatchback on it.
Yeah, wasn't it Citroen rear light clusters as well?
Yeah.
But it worked. I mean, it shouldn't have worked.
It did kind of work, yes. It wasn't horrific. I mean, I would hold out, if I was Brian May, for a Lynx Aventa.
Oh, Sugar Plum Fairy, yes, 100%.
Feels a bit more factory than just some bloke's done it in his garage.
Yeah.
But either way, yeah. A practical XJ-S for the keen guitarist. An XJ-S shooting brake of some sort would be perfect.
Well, if Brian's been stood on his doorstep in the last couple of weeks, over the Goodwood Revival weekend, there was a guy, because I've been informed that he drove the sort of length of Britain in it. He's well known in the Air Corps Volkswagen scene from years ago. He came over from Belgium, I think that's where he's based, in a Porsche 928 Arts.
Oh, yes.
Which is a shooting brake 928.
Yeah.
And I've been sent approximately 160 pictures of it from various different people going, have you seen this? Have you seen this? Either driving on the motorway, parked in Goodwood, muddy car park, or somewhere else. So if Brian saw that, there'd be a little bit of envy, I think. He'd go, that's quite a piece of work, that. Although he might get a DP Motorsport long roof, which I've totally... What was the name of that car?
Oh, I can't remember now. We went
through
the
944 estate.
Yeah.
We talked about that many times.
I can't remember now. I did, though, just want to bring up briefly, since we're talking kind of about oil and engine health, a thank you to everybody who wrote in after last week's show referencing wet belt engines and what a pain in the tads they are. Quite a lot of people confirming that certain garages.
They're an idiotic design.
Yeah, won't touch them because they're such a pain in the arse. And a few people pointing out that the reason for the wet belt design would be that it has a slight efficiency advantage.
Which is instantly eroded by the fact that it's a stupid design.
I mean, that's the thing.
The belt shaves itself down into the strainer holes.
Yeah, we had. I just want to touch on one message from a listener called Samuel Kerner. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I only want to message Samuel's email because A, it came in quite recently, so I can find it, but also because it's entitled Ford Fluto Boost. He said his father experienced a very similar issue to Lisa, but in a Ford Fiesta Active 1 litre L. The dreaded wet belt had been delaminating and clogged the oil strainer. This caused an unexpected secondary issue. As he was driving towards a bend on a country lane, heading for a corner at 60 miles an hour, he went to touch the brakes and, to his surprise, experienced no reduction in speed and a significant noise from the engine. He managed to make it round the bend without a holiday to the hedge and coasted to a stop outside the lovely Humberside Airport. But basically the engine let go at a really inconvenient time.
It's oil starvation, yeah?
Yeah. And because it was 400 miles past its scheduled service, they wouldn't offer a penny to repair it under warranty.
It's not good. It's not good, is it?
No.
It's not good at all. I hope it never comes back, the wet belt design.
Also, thanks to everyone who pointed out that not all of those Ford 3-cylinders do have wet belts. Some of them have had chains, including the Fiesta ST. The 3-cylinder ST does have a chain rather than a belt, so...
that's safe.
It's not problematic in the same way. Although somebody else, I'm sorry, I didn't get any emails organised this week, but somebody did point out that chains are not beyond failing.
I read that. I read that from a few people going, chains are not infallible.
Yeah.
They will still snap.
Oh, yes, here we go. George Donaldson was one of the people who wrote in. Johnny says chains don't break. Enter the BMW N47 engine, breaks them for sport. And it's a motor out to fix it as it's at the rear of the engine.
Sorry, Rich, what was that? Breaks them for what?
Oh, sorry. Spout.
Spout. I haven't said spout for quite a few podcasts, I don't think. I've had a bit of sports sabbatical.
It's good to give it a rest, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Spout.
Now, actually, since we're here... A listener called James. Now, should I say his full name? Here's what I won't do it. It's just called James. The reason his email is now come to the top is because I just searched BMW, and it brought this up as well. James watched that that amazing BBC documentary about people in their cars, and there's an episode about reps. It's from the 90s.
Yeah. From ages ago, yeah.
Yeah, and I can't remember the name of the doc now, but there's a guy who's been given a Maestro and he's absolutely gutted. And it was called From A to B, wasn't it? From A to B, Tales of Modern Motoring. I've just looked at James's link that he sent.
Tales of Modern Motoring.
Tales of Modern Motoring. And,
Modern Motoring.
But the company car driver one was just amazing because the sort of, khaki, petty politics around it, and I've got an L, not a GL, all the rest of it. James says, being born in 1989, he says he just watched the episode about the sales rep, but he says, being born in 1999, this idea seems alien to me. Maybe I'm too young to remember the significance of people's company cars. Is the heavily subsidised / salary sacrifice car now a thing of the past? I work for BMW UK and drive a company car, or as it's called, a competitively priced lease. But there doesn't seem to be the same job grade to car comparison as discussed in the video. A phrase that often gets tossed around is rep spec, say an SE, BMW or Audi, as everyone now just defaults to M Spouts or AMG line or S line.
Yeah.
With the death of the Mondeo and Insignia and most affordable 3-box saloons, is the sales rep company car a thing of the past? It's a good question. I mean,
It's a really good question. I don't think it's a thing anymore.
Because the idea of someone coming to visit you to sell you stuff in a corporate world, I mean, I reckon it was already on the wane, and then because of email and stuff, and then COVID probably did some more damage. Are there sales reps out there? Yes, I think there are. I think there's nowhere near what there was because the forms of communication have changed rapidly, and I guess costs being scrutinised more heavily than ever. But also I think the whole company car payment and tier system has become an absolute octopus of complexity. I don't really, we didn't used to have emissions penalisation and all that kind of thing, and we didn't used to get taxed on cars that was slightly more over a luxurious threshold, I don't think. So yeah,
that's why you'd get directors of companies buying, I don't know, BMW 750 ILs and stuff.
Yeah.
Or Rolls sex predator shadows. And I just
so growing up, a mate of mine's dad, he worked for a construction company, like a big one that did kind of bridges and chisel. And he wasn't a rep, but he had to sometimes go and see clients and take people out for lunch and do all that kind of high-level stuff. And he had an Audi 100 2.3, the aero-shaped one.
Oh, so nice.
Hell of a car.
Car.
Another of my mate's dads, he had an Audi 100, and he also had a Peugeot 605, and he didn't, as far as I know, he didn't do any sort of, reppy stuff. It was just his reward for being, reaching a certain seniority within the company. I don't think that goes on so much now, does it? Or does it?
No.
I don't know.
But as usual, I think we'll invite the listeners who are significantly more intelligent and connected.
Well, they're out there, aren't they? I think we probably suffer from not having proper jobs, so we don't really know what's going on out there. But is it... Because then one of the things that you and I have observed is you go to any motorway service area and sometimes train in Britain, and there'll always be a man, and it's almost always a man, who has one of those really massive, very thick laptops.
I knew you'd say that. I knew you'd say it because I think we've never talked about it on the cast. You've just WhatsApped me before covert photos of extremely thick laptops.
It's like because nobody would voluntarily have that kind of laptop. It's also, but in the modern age, with the computing power being what it is, who really needs one of those laptops? Because it's not just the size. I get size of screen, maybe.
Yeah.
If I don't know, you're running the lights and the sound for a Jean-Michel Jarre concert, you need lots of screen acreage. But why are you sitting in Hilton Park services?
Such a current music artist to compare it to.
Very, very up to date. But then the thickness. Why are they so thick? Are they? But there's always somebody who's got this basically like a 90s spec laptop, and you go, well, your work must have given you that. What do you do?
There's two things here. It could be one of those military ones, because military stuff often looks a bit more frumpy because it has to be much stronger. And it could be more powerful than we realise. Or, on the other hand, it was a 90s laptop. But what the guy's done is he's cunningly cleared out the innards of it, and it's actually a lunchbox for what hungry people in the world call breakfast 2.
Yeah.
And do you know what breakfast 2 is, don't we?
Second breakfast.
I woke up this morning and I'm a working man, and I left the house at 6, so I had an early breakfast. But now it's 10. I'm extremely hungry, but it's not lunchtime.
Yeah. So you do like Control D or something, and the bit pops up and there's some Cadbury's fingers or something in there.
there's exactly that. It comes up on gas struts with a little bit of dry ice.
Oh, beautiful. But this is the thing. So actually, to your point about military laptops, I know someone who works for the military in a civilian capacity.
Off of the military?
They're not allowed. I think they're not allowed to take their laptop off base for security reasons. So I don't think it's going to be anyone working for the MOD that's doing sort of vital defence strategy in Gordano services for a bit because they're having a coffee.
Gordano, mate. Oh, yeah,
Gordano.
I know him. Oh, he's a sweet guy, Gordano, yeah. His dad ran that pizzeria, didn't he? Oh, best pizzas in the world, that. If you haven't tasted them, you've got to taste them. Best pizzas in the world, yeah. Gordano's.
Can we... I can't remember how we got here, but it sort of doesn't matter. I was going to say to you, though, you didn't really talk last week about the Goodwood Revival, because you went.
Yeah, I did. I went for fun. And I only went for a day, and I went to see my sweet, sweet guy friend, Lewis, whose Showman's Caravan we often stay in.
Did you stay in the Showman's Caravan?
They did offer it to me, but actually the house wasn't full of people, so I stayed on a sofa bed in the conservatory instead.
Okay, nice.
And they've got, and one of their dogs that you might remember kept coming up to us while we were recording our outdoor cast in the field.
Yeah,
it's obsessed with wood.
Okay.
So for most of the evening, it just kept bringing me pieces of wood. It just wouldn't leave me alone. It's a very, very unusual dog, bless it. So I thought, we're going to go down there for a day. Got down there late Friday, had just MOT'd the Honda Insight, and it went through with flying colours. 79.9 average MPG on the way down, despite not trying to drive it carefully and going around the M25. And then get to Lewis's, and I say to him, right, it's going to be really busy tomorrow morning, as you know, and the car park is a bit boggy. Why don't we go in something that's pre-1966 rather than going in my car? And he went, yeah, we'll go in the Model A.
Oh, yeah.
So he's got a 1929 Model A, which you might remember seeing.
Yes,
Folks,
beautiful.
I don't know if they said it like that in 1929. They probably didn't say it like that. Fords.
And
Fords. It's a 29 Fords.
Fords. Yes.
And so I said, cool, that's brilliant. Woke up early in the morning, got ready, put your sort of retro clothing on. Lewis put on this genuinely new old stock, because it still had the tags on the cuffs, which he'd kept. New old stock's 60s Marks and Spencer's extremely itchy looking suit. And as he put it on, I giggled at him because it was early in the morning. You know, you sometimes just get the giggles. And I said, what shoes are you wearing? He goes, I'm just going to wear like some smart kind of dress shoes that are modern. I said, no, you can't do that. And I said, I went up to him and I went, have you still got those cowboy boots? And he looked at me and went, yeah, I do. I haven't worn them since that stag do nearly 20 years ago. He said, but Vicky's asleep upstairs because this was early. I said, go upstairs and get the fucking cowboy boots. We're not going to the revival unless you get those cowboy boots. So he snuck upstairs and I could hear him like rifling through a cupboard.
Oh, God.
And he came down and he had cowboy boots on with a 60s Marks and Spencer's suit, and I made him wear them all day with the trousers tucked into the boots.
I saw a picture and I was wondering about the tuck.
Well, it was terrible weather, and the traction levels that he experienced walking from the car. In fact, he got out the car in a boggy field and nearly went straight over for a start. It's like racing on slicks in the rain. But it made me giggle. Honestly, it made me giggle all day watching him with those boots. Women were actively walking the other way when they saw him, which I thought was even funnier. But we had a great time.
I'm sorry, just a slight deviation, but where does one get a new old stock M&S suit from the 60s from?
60s? I can't remember.
Oh.
I suspect it's deceased spec. They usually are.
Yeah.
Charity shop deceased spec, but I don't know actually.
Well, anyway, sorry. So, but the revival itself.
The revival, as you would expect it to be, it was massive attention to detail, really good fun. I picked the one day of less rain than the other 2 days.
Yeah,
racing was so good and a bit squiffy and damp. Sweet guys that we're aware of. Dario Franchitti, he brought the Aston DB4 GT home in a mega race, palled up with Jimmy Johnson.
Oh, and are we allowed to reference that message that Dario sent you afterwards?
I can't remember which corner it was, but he was hanging on for dear life in this car. Even talented drivers were saying it was damn slippery out there. And as he was coming around the corner, he knew he was 6 or 7 seconds ahead of the second place car. So, but everyone was going hard. He saw, I think, part of the steam fair, because Goodwood has the steam fair there, which is beautiful old fun fair. And all he kept thinking about was whether it will do that all day. And he said it actually giggled whilst he was hanging on in this Aston, in slithering around in the wet. And he said, "You two have completely polluted my mind." He might have called us strokers.
Well, because I saw his brother, Barino, at the Grand Tour launch event, and he told me that he'd had exactly the same thought, but independently of Dario. He'd seen the bloody steam fair. He's like out on the track going, "Oh my God, it's really, really tough conditions out here. Oh, look, a steam fair. It'll do that all day, mate." And then he's like, "You bastards, you've broken my brain."
I'm so pleased. This pleases me immensely. I'd like to add that I recently got contacted by a company that makes scaled down engines of all types, including steam, about whether or not I'd like to test them for the late break show. I don't think they're aware of Smith & Sniff, probably for the best for them.
Yes.
And but I am actually going to get back to them and say, I would very much like to trial some of your scaled steam engines, maybe on this table that I do the podcast on, whilst we're recording the podcast. I think it could be groundbreaking, Rich. What do you think? Steam engine review orally?
Yeah. Can you run them inside? Is that all right?
Well, I was just going to open the back door to see what
fair
happened.
enough. Yeah, I would do, just to be on the safe side.
It's a rental
also,
house, so...
the temperature's dropped a little bit this last week. It would keep your house lovely and warm, wouldn't it, having a
Oh my gosh, the windows. The windows would be
away.
so steamy. It'll look like that scene from Titanic when Kate Winslet's doing things in the back of a Model T Ford.
Wasn't it a Model T, was it?
Actually, it probably wasn't. We'll have to go
I think it was a bit more spacious than that. I think it was probably... I actually don't know.
Was it a Gamage Astor?
I think it was, yes.
I had her down as being someone that would probably enjoy a Gamage Astor now and again, especially with one cylinder, all 6.5 horsepower.
Well, though rather troublingly, I found a 1903 Gamage Astor that had gone through a Bonhams auction not so long ago. But the full name of the car is the 1903 Gamage Astor 6.5 horsepower rear entrance.
Oh, shit.
Let's move on to other things you saw at the revival.
Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, I should have said this at the top. Massive thanks to Ian Cook at Pot Bang Colour for giving me the ticket and being a very hospitable man and doing this amazing, huge canvas all weekend long for Jag Land Rover. It was fantastic. So really good to see him. Thanks to everyone that came up to me and talked about either this podcast or the Late Break Show channel. I was walking under a gantry first thing in the morning, very early, at about 7:45.
Yeah.
And somebody shouted spout at me so hard that I nearly fell over.
This happened at the Festival of Speed as well, didn't it?
Yeah.
Well, we almost got sort of blown jet engine style into a tent because somebody gave us a full blast of spout.
Honestly, we get walk-by hecklings. There's quite a lot of on that side of things. Just as you're passing somebody in a huge stream of human traffic, you just get that kind of, on that side of things, yeah. And sometimes I didn't know where it was coming from. I never found the person, but it was really nice. Highlights, cars-wise, there was a 60th anniversary of the Mayer Manx Buggy. Bruce Mayer died quite recently, who invented the Manx Buggy, and I didn't realise actually how much of a hero he was before he created the buggy. He was a surfer, a very strong swimmer. Apparently in World War II saved the lives of a lot of people when a ship went down.
Oh.
And but he invented the buggy as we know it. And you might remember when we went to Renspoet, Rich, there was the new rendition of the Mayor Manx buggy there.
Yeah.
And there was a procession on track. I've never seen beach buggies on Goodwood track before, and they looked absolutely amazing, despite the fact that Britain was trying its best to just piss on everybody. But it was really good. And there was one there with I think it was a quad cam 356 Carrera motor. Yeah, the engine's worth about, 40 times more than the car. So whoever that is, they're a baller. But yeah, the new one, I'm really looking forward to the new one. And you can still buy a kit of the brand new old spec one, which is cool. I do fancy a buggy, even though clearly Britain's not geared up for it in terms of weather. But there's something jolly about it.
Well, I think the summer months for sort of just nipping out to go and do stuff, you probably right.
Well,
yes, it may not be an everyday car.
I'd like to reach a point in life where I've maybe got a bolt hole somewhere, and my aspiration would be to have a little bolt hole cottage. Could be coastal. But there's a garage, or I borrow the garage from the old lady next door, who's, I don't know, the widow of a sea captain, and I keep something like that in it. A really nicely sorted buggy which you just wheel out, and everyone grins, they know it's silly. And that's the thing about cars like that. Everyone knows it's daft, it's not a rational purchase. But you go out in it and have a great big smile on your face. I'll take you out in it, you'll be terrified, won't get back in it again. I'll make you go out in it with me with a completely unbuttoned shirt. You'll feel self-conscious.
I'm not really a Beetle enthusiast, but I have driven a beach buggy this was actually about 15 years ago, but it had only been recently built, so it was sort of modern in the sense of that it had only become
it was a brand new old design.
Yeah, so I guess old Beetle bits underneath. And I did find it, on a sort of nice warm day in the countryside, I did find it quite amusing, but you'd have your bolt hole with your Myers lookalike.
Yeah.
I'd always imagined that I'd have a charming little place in the south of France with a Mahari.
I thought you'd go Mahari. You'd need espadrilles with that, sir.
Or an Ian Fleming style retreat in Jamaica or one of the Caribbean islands and a moke.
Yeah, you see that. I mean, all of them, please, if that's okay.
Exactly. Well, I suppose you could. Not to be greedy, but you need to match your overseas bolt hole with your windowless, doorless car.
I would like that a lot. Do you know what? Just talking about it and thinking about coastal little bolt hole cottages, I'm just thinking about that time that me and my dad saw that guy cleaning his Hyundai i10 with cut off jean shorts with no back end. And then I'm pretty sure he was either using a hose or a watering can and then a brush, just a yard brush, to clean this poor i10.
Thank you. By the way, talking of cleaning cars or not cleaning cars, after last week when you were talking about a couple of Algal vehicle sightings.
Oh, yeah.
We've had some people. It's reignited the enthusiasm for Algal cars, but I don't think anyone will beat that incredible Algal Volvo that I drew your attention to. That
Algal Volvo is unbelievable.
Well, it's more Moss than Volvo, isn't it? It's incredible. I'll put the picture on the Patreon. But I don't think that won't be beaten. Although, of course, extra points in the world of Algal cars for anything that's being driven. If it's just parked and very mossy, that's sort of one thing. But if it's still being used and yet looks like it lives in a terrarium, then that's...
It's active algal.
Active algal, that's it. AAV, active algal vehicle.
It's active algal versus stationary algal, which is SA, obviously. Active algal, there's more of a commitment because every time you use the car, people will stare. and form an opinion of you. And you clearly don't care enough to just get it jet washed.
Well, that's it, isn't it? It's the not giving a shit.
Yeah. Funny enough, I saw an Algal parked, extremely rare, but nobody cares, last week. And I forgot to tell you. I made a note of it, and I'll do this for patrons. I made a note of the road it was on. I need to go on Google Earth and sort of scroll along and look on driveways because it must be there. It was a Yugo.
What?
Yeah, it was a really Algal Yugo in Birmingham.
Which sort of Yugo?
Is it a 45?
Bloody hell.
I think it was a 45. And it was outside a house that was in nice condition.
Oh.
But it was so Algal, and all of the pavement around it on the drive was Algal. Like they'd pressure washed the whole drive apart from within 6 inches of the Yugo. It was very odd.
I have to just bring up a message. We had lots of Algal vehicle messages, but this one from Joe Dyer particularly struck me because he says, down the road from where I live in North Scotland, there is a very algae-covered Alfa Romeo 166. While that's not weird in itself, the fact that it's at a car dealership and for sale for £750 begs a question of how well they care about the cars they're selling.
What?
That's nuts. I mean, for Christ's sake, just give it a jet wash.
So they're not even trying to clean a car that they're trying to sell?
No, apparently not.
That doesn't make any sense at all.
I'm going to dock Joe a couple of listener points for not sending a photo, but I appreciate he's probably very busy.
No, he needs to go back, even if he was on holiday. He needs to go back and he needs to find it. Please, if that's okay, and take a photo.
Also, while I'm in the email folder, I just wanted to apologise to Alex, the listener, who sent in a message about delivering pizzas in his mum's Fiat Panda 1.1. He was the one who had a colleague who he described as a massive liar, who had a Seat Cupra R. Alex wrote in, first of all, to say that the massive liar was called Adam, and in the course of reading out his email, we managed to switch the names and started calling Alex Adam.
No.
Sorry about that, Alex. We're going to do it again. Also, he confirms that the Seat in question was a Leon.
Right,
so
okay.
Peace of mind there. Thank you. We appreciate that our listeners have this attention to detail.
They were amazing cars, those Leon Cupra Rs. They were brilliant.
Yeah, they were all right, weren't they?
Love those very much. Well, we all know massive liars. They all exist, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I was going to talk about... I had a message from someone asking me if Pierre Gasly actually looks more like the boy from About a Boy rather than the boy from Love Actually.
Yes.
I've studied this, but I'm sticking to what I originally said.
I saw these messages, and I have to say that they're not without merit. He does quite look like the boy from About a Boy, who is also now not a boy, just the same as old what's his name sandwiches. Who just what's he called?
The chap
Thomas
that's
Brody
engaged to Elon Musk's ex-wife.
They've got married
twice.
In the course of assembling the Patreon show notes after we'd recorded the last episode, I thought, I'll just, because I stick in these links so people can read more about things we've touched on in the pod, and they got married this summer. Was the discovery that I made? Yeah, because I think I'd seen something that said they were engaged, but no, actually married.
Real marriage. Well, I never, as
actual
old people say.
Married. Yeah. Now, actually, just very quickly... no,
it doesn't have to be quick. It really doesn't.
I mean, it's just because it feels apposite. A message from a listener called Scott Taylor, who says, "Hi, SSGs. Been listening on the YouTube since lockdown religiously. Really enjoying every episode. But why, oh why, am I now experiencing adverts on the last 3 or 4 episodes?" I've meant to bring this up because it's not very interesting technical issue that our podcast hosting system, Acast, when you uploaded a new podcast, it used to have this lovely little feature where it would automatically upload it to your YouTube channel and release it at the same time, and it would just create a very basic little title card that just had the name of the show and your logo on it. all done, all taken care of, so that we didn't have to faff around doing that anymore. Acast and YouTube seem to have fallen out over ads and who gets to put them where. So we now have to manually put the show up onto the YouTube channel. And frankly, there's ads on everything else. You know, the ads go in through Acast. So it was a bit of an oversight on our part that there were never ads on the YouTube version. So there's ads on there now. But Scott says, is it something I've done to upset you or just punishment for listening to Chris Harris? Is there any way to listen ad-free? Yes, Scott, there is. There's our Patreon. Patreon.com/Smith and Sniff. You go there, you pay a little bit of money, and you can get an ad-free version of the podcast.
Ad-free.
Here ends that slightly cack-handed promotional message.
No, it's okay. I'll go straight in with a quick letter from Aid. And Aid says... Well, the title of the email says Evolution of the No-Name Full Suspension Mountain Bike Guy, who is still one of my most famous characters. I would like to do a Tour de France gathering of these people. I really would. Gents, during a somewhat unexpected weekend away in Ipswich, I witnessed the evolution of the No-Name Full Suspension Mountain Bike Guy. Behold, the No-Name Full Suspension 4 Bluetooth speaker mountain bike guy. That's
4?
Right. Yeah, that's right. A lithe gent cycling furiously around the Ipswich streets and marina, blasting tunes, CHOONS, from 4 synchronised Bluetooth speakers attached to the frame of his unnamed bicycle.
Jesus.
An interesting addition to the flora and fauna of Ipswich. There was another no-name full suspension mountain bike Bluetooth guy, but he only had 2 speakers attached to his nameless velocipede. A much quieter experience. They were not seen together, so make of this what you will.
Hold on.
CMTMB.
When we went to Ipswich,
to
collect the eagle, did we not walk across that bridge over the river when we left the station and saw what might have been a no-name mountain bike thrown in the river?
Yes, we did. We did, because I was going to take a photo of it, but I had my phone with the the navigation on, and I didn't want to run out of battery.
Maybe I did. I'll have to look back. But the reason I bring this up is because does this mean that Ipswich is some kind of world centre of no-name full suspension mountain biking? And they've evolved it with their in-car entertainment systems. 4 speakers seems a lot, though.
Synchronised 4 Bluetooth speakers.
Yeah, 2,
playing
you
big
go,
tunes.
okay, that's quite, maybe you can set them up to do some kind of stereo effect, but 4?
Well, I feel like, that guy that DJs on a bicycle while cycling around, mostly drum and bass.
Yeah.
It would be nice to sort of collide numerous isms from this podcast if we had him in Bristol with us, with anyone that listens to this podcast that's interested, and we all try to assemble a no-name mountain bike ride out for charity.
Yeah,
and he leads the procession. We'll stop for a big pub lunch, and then we'll try doing some we'll try doing some massive wheelies after lunch.
Also, hovering over us, that hot air balloon that's got loads of speakers on it that can play D&B.
Oh, a D&B hot air balloon.
Nothing is more Bristolian than a hot air balloon playing D&B.
Or maybe do we chase the balloon, because the balloon can't steer really?
Oh, yes.
So we
adds
chase
a dimension to it, doesn't it? Yeah. And then you go,
that's the point of the ride. People go, where?
Somewhere out past Yeovil by mistake. Now, actually, on that note, the bloody that farty motorbike that rides past my house at 10 to 6 most mornings and vexes me greatly. Something extraordinary happened this very morning.
What?
It crashed. I could hear, I was obviously half awake, I could hear the bastard coming from what felt like a mile away.
Was it a slide trumpet full of ambrosia custard?
No, do you know what? It's like it's lower tone than trumpet, but not as deep as like a tuba. It's like a euphonium, one of those lesser known members of the brass section. But I could hear the fucking thing coming to the point where I suddenly thought, he's coming. I've got time to get out of bed and run over to the window and see him. Finally ID the bastard. Maybe I could grab my phone and get a picture. I could share it with people on the podcast. But then I was like, oh, I'll wake my wife up if I do that. So I won't. So I lay there and off he went. And I was lying there and I was like, oh, I wish I had got up because I do want to see this sod at some point.
I would have thrown a tennis ball at him from the
I mean, quite a satisfying game, but get one of those tennis ball firing machines and put it in my bedroom window. And just,
like people of a certain age who live rurally, on their bedroom windowsill, they've always got binoculars and sometimes an air pistol.
Yes, yes.
So you've got a tennis ball server.
I just want to bounce it off his helmet. That's all I want to do, just for sport. Well, anyway, so what happened this morning, though, is that I was then lying there and I was a bit like, oh, shit, now I'm kind of awake and it's not even 6 a.m. In fact, damn you, farty motorcycle twat. And then, just I was sort of nodding back off to sleep.
What
the fucker's coming back up the street? And I was like, he's obviously forgotten something on his way to work and he's going by. And he went past again. And so then I was lying there, I was like, shit. Well, he's going to come back past, isn't he? I know what's going on here.
Yeah, you've got to get fully
tuned
dressed
into his routine now. He only ever goes past once. He's forgotten something. He's forgotten his pass. The lanyard was hanging on the banister at home or something, and he's just forgotten his pass to get into work.
Yeah.
So then I was lying there, like, right, I'm waiting for him. I'm going to, when he comes back, that's it, I'm going to get up. I'm going to get up.
I would have just stood at the side of the road in a fleece.
Well, that's it. I probably had time, didn't I? I could have gone out there with just like with a massive length of pipe lagging and just tried to sort of, gladiator style, just wallop him with it for fun. But no, then I was like, oh, I need a wee. So I had to get up and go to the loo. And while I was in the loo, I could very distantly hear. I missed the fucker. So once again, he eludes me.
You still don't know what he looks like or she, what the bike looks like, anything.
No, but do you know what? Now, in my head, I've said before that I feel like it's some kind... Actually, it might be... I don't think it necessarily is. In my head now, I think of it as sort of some kind of 1930s, a matchless or something, some kind of motorcycle that doesn't exist anymore. And also now, I think they're dressed like a 1930s motorcycle racer with a really bulbous open-face crash helmet. And quite tight black leathers of a very dated style.
They look like bin liners that have been shrinked.
Yes, exactly. It just almost looks like it's not much thicker than Tiff's Carpaccio leather jackets.
Oh gosh, wow!
That was safety gear in 1934. But I'm sure it's not. I do need now to...
You've got to hunt this person
get
down.
A positive ID on this person. Yeah.
It's going to be like a new version of Takeshi's Castle, I've realised, with you with your tennis ball serving machine, and he's going to have to go past at a set speed, and you've got to hit him at least once. It's going to be really difficult.
I mean, on the evidence so far, he always goes past at the same speed. And the speed is 12, but the noise sounds like it's 190.
Well, hang on a minute. You can run, so why don't you just make sure you've got your running shoes on and just sprint next to the bastard, point and shout at him. Call him out.
If I don't want to get out of bed, but not out of my bedroom, what about a T-shirt cannon? Because those things have got some punch, haven't they? If I just took him down with a T-shirt cannon, but then I'd go, well, you got a free T-shirt out of that.
Well, you have some T-shirts made, like your bugling moped prick. Whatever you would write on it.
Bugling moped prick. Perfect. Or one of our new merch T-shirts, which are going on sale very soon.
Oh, yeah, but then we've given one away to him, and it's a quality piece of merchandise. We don't really. He's kept you awake for years and years and years.
Yes.
But what about if it's a 60s guy riding a slightly pre-war motorbike?
Shit, you know what? I hadn't thought. It could just be a 60s bike, couldn't it? Because it sounds like it's from another time.
It could be a Soviet Iron Curtain spec. Like,
what are they called? Those Urals,
MZs.
aren't they?
You got a Ural.
Okay. Yeah.
Got an MZ, which was East German.
Okay.
Which were very reliable, but they looked like they were made of Lego.
Yeah.
And then there's another Soviet motorbike company, which listeners will almost certainly know. But as usual with most Soviet stuff, ergonomically, they're okay, but they just don't look very good. Yeah. Nobody goes, hey, that's attractive. That's a good piece of design. The Italians would be like, yeah, we wouldn't even put that on our bonfire, let alone ride that into town. But yeah.
Well, I mean, also just as an idle curiosity, if there's anyone else who lives in Bath, who's heard this
bugling moped prick guy,
moto rogue at somewhere between 5:30 and 6 o'clock in the morning, do let me know. I hope it's not a figment of my imagination. I'm in fact losing my mind. But
no, you need to hunt this guy down.
I do need to eyeball this outlaw, though.
Imagine if it was Brian May going down to the auto factors every day to get his, just like French people go and get bread and it's a ritual. He goes and gets his like absolutely amazing Silcoline oil and 12 spark plugs.
12 plugs. And a filter.
And a filter, because he does the filter every 24 hours. He doesn't just do the oil, he does the filter too. He's not pissing around.
On this accelerated schedule, he's presumably then also doing, say, the gearbox oil every week.
Do you know how many litres of oil like a Jag Auto box is? It's like 12 litres of oil or something. It's going to cost
I guess there's a bath. Literally a bath of oil inside one of those old Jag Auto boxes.
He'll spend the running costs, because he's decided for no reason to do it this way. The running costs on that car would be more than like the fleet of British Telecom vans over the course of a year. And he will do average mileage. They'll go, why have you spent £40,000 on maintenance on this car? And you've only done, 10,000 miles? What's going on? Go, well.
Now, actually, we've had a very good question sort of about this very topic, which we'll do in Ottersott on Friday.
What?
Uncannily, yes. On that note, we should probably bring this to a halt, but we will be back on Friday with our spin-off show On the Other Side of Things, where we answer listener questions, so we'll cover that then. But for now, before we go, I have 3 things to tell you. They are: 1, Johnny's engaged in a project to re-record the M&M back catalogue, but with our favourite female singer, under the working title The Real Slim Sade. If that's not to your taste, then there's always the Late Break Show. Lots of excellent videos on there. What have you got for us this week?
That's the stupidest one you've ever done. And you've done a lot. You've done a lot of really stupid ones. That caught me out. That one. That's just daft. What have I got? I don't know what I've got this week. I know.
Let's just make something up.
No, I have. I've actually got a car collection this week.
Oh.
Owned by a really sweet guy from Essex. His garage is like a converted old chicken shed. He is really bonkers into old Skylines and Datsun 240s. But he's also got other cars as well. So I can't remember how many cars he's got in total, probably about 17. And some of the cars are just brilliant. I had real sort of garage envy of this guy's collection. So tune into that, as they say.
Sounds nice.
Yeah, he had an RX-7 convertible, which I took for a quick spin up the road because I kept lusting over it. And he went, have you ever driven one? I went, no, I've never driven a convertible. He went, just take it for a spin, quick. It's on private property, it's like a big feeder road. So I just took it up the road and went, do you know what? This is a bit of me. Never ever thought I would be down with this, but I'm totally down. Yeah, like,
really?
What was it? Yeah, late 80s, 87, 88.
Yeah. Was it white?
I think it was black, and it was it was a UK car.
Wow, that's a rarity.
And he's thinking of selling it. I'm going, oh, gosh, here we go. Oh, gosh.
Uh-oh. Yeah. Good. Well, I look forward to seeing your new RX-7
I'm going to book it in with Brian May
convertible
to have its 24-hourly service. I think that's the only way to look after that.
Yeah, because I think... Yeah, exactly. They need that, don't they? Keep the
all that.
in check. Second thing I've got to tell you is I have various books out. One of them is Steel Flies, a spoof Cold War thriller written by the spoof car journalist Roy Lanchester, which only this week TV's James May asked me if I was going to write a sequel. And I had to say that I'd love to, but it's probably not a very good use of my time. He also told me he read Steel Flies, the original, in one sitting.
Really?
So, if you want to read a book that James May has read, there's lots of them out there, but this is one of them. So please go and buy it from Amazon as a paperback or an ebook. And the third thing I've got to tell you is, do you know how IKEA got its name?
No, I don't, Rich. I don't.
It's the initials of the company founder, Ingvar Kamprad. But that's only the I and the K. Then to complete this word, he just used the initials of the two villages where he grew up, Elmturrid and Angerid. I'm sorry to Swedish listeners for that pronunciation. I'm sure it's completely wrong. But yeah, so IKEA is named after the initials of the company founder. And then because he went, I can't call my company IK, he just used the initials of the villages where
in my
he grew
head
up.
now, for no reason at all, I can see the IKEA logo, but it just says Otsot. And it looks great. It looks really good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure somebody could run that up in seconds, what with AI and all that shit these days.
But, Joe, we've got to the end of another
we'll
podcast. I've forgotten to reference Debbie Harry from Blondie's car reference in her autobiography. I'll have to do it again next week.
It's almost like a cliffhanger.
Sort of is, yes. Yes.
Previously on Smith and Sniff. Okay, well, that'll be for next Monday. We'll see you on Friday, where we'll answer questions, including one that relates to cars that cost more to maintain than they did to buy. Until then, thank you ever so much for listening. Goodbye.
Bye, guys. All right, I'll say it.
Cheers, mate. Thanks, mate. Bye.
So you've enjoyed this podcast, but you've had a thought. Is there a way here today that you could show support? Well, you could join our Patreon. What wonders that it brings. Early shows and extra notes on that side of things. You could buy our merchandise. We've mugs and hats, but still no ties. One day we will make those pies, but in the meantime, guys, hey guys, like and subscribe, and maybe leave a nice review. Like and subscribe, we know you know just what to do. Like and subscribe, we don't want to take the piss. Like and subscribe, but we were told to ask for this. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe.
Throat not too good. It's that porridge. It's the fucking porridge.
It's claggy. Very, very claggy.
It's so claggy. I might as well have just stood at the back of a cement mixer and gone, all right, lads, bring it in.
Tip it down.
So claggy.